The newest Defender hull is in Battle Pirates, and today I want to go through a build on this one, showing you how you can stop the Rangers and all those pesky Conquerors from attacking your base. Hey everyone, Derpy here, and welcome back to another Battle Pirates video. I've successfully autoed enough of the level 80s and the level 120 whatevers in order to get vengeance points to get 3 Sirius ships as well as the weapon that came with it, and let's go over a build for this one. Now, as I just got these as of minutes ago, I have not actually built them myself. I have hit a few bases, actually just one base with these. It had 3 of these ships in here, and well, I beat it pretty easily with 3 Rangers. So this is not a complete will stop any ship no matter what, but it is going to be pretty helpful and is definitely a step up over the current or maybe tier 12 Conquerors that you're using in your bases. So first of all, what is the ship apart from being not very aerodynamic and a giant sort of wing, maybe unibody wing shape? This is the, as I mentioned, newest Defender ship. Take a note of a few interesting stats here, including 35 million armor roughly. Building damage is from the shipyard. You can ignore that. It doesn't apply to defenders. It has some pretty mediocre resistances across the board. Higher penetrative and higher concussive. Corrosive is actually pretty high, and we're going to get this one even higher, which you might be able to catch out if you watch the thumbnail here. The ship will move by default, so note that. It does have a few special abilities. The first one is that it will stun hostile ships within range. Note the duplicate aura cap of 1 right here, so you might benefit less from having 3 ships in this space than 1 ship, at least in terms of the incremental benefit it gives you. I'm still planning on building 3 myself personally, where this will basically stop every ship and give them a much higher reload, so it takes longer for their weapons to shoot. And interestingly, it affects shrouded enemies, which makes me wonder if we're going to see some sort of shrouding mechanic come out on the next Conqueror ship. I believe we have seen these before on some Rages or some other pretty old ships. Now, the other thing that this ship has here is a built-in targeting system. Basically, what this means is that this is going to try and charge towards an enemy ship as long as it's not stopped behind a gate. So you can see my Cloud Cruiser right here. As soon as the gate in front of it is killed, the Cloud Cruiser will try and charge out of the base here if the gate in front of that was taken out as well. So that's in general what this targeting system does. It tries to charge towards the enemy ship. For this particular ship, I don't think I want that. I don't want people to lure them out of my base, so I'm going to actually put on a Stalwart Sentinel engine on the ship right here. If you do want your ship to go charge towards someone, you can put on something else like the missile engine that is pretty standard, the Vanquish Engine M, that will increase your penetrative damage, give you combat speed, evade, all sorts of other stuff like that one. I don't really want my ship doing that, although you certainly could, so I'm going to use the Stalwart Sentinel Engine 2 here. And if you actually look, and actually I can check, I do have a third one, so good thing I searched for that one. The third one just gives you more armor points and then more damage, so you will want to make sure you use the most recent version of this one that you have. They all work the same in that they will make your ship stop and stay stopped where you put it, turning it into basically a floating turret. Now, I do like this engine here, and before we go over the rest of the specials, I do want to talk about the weapons for this one, because it's going to be the UAV that came out with this one. The Zarek UAV is, I guess, how you could say it if you wanted to. Now, this UAV is nothing too exciting. It does have a range of 120, which is generally pretty high. We definitely don't see things that high in PvE. Has a decent chunk of damage here, and it shoots over mountains, shoots over walls, stuff like that. Everything else that you would expect. It has some UAV specific stats here. Note the chain count of 1 to begin with, which we're actually going to want to bump up. So in terms of the specials you want to use, they should generally be UAV or penetrative damage focused. The first one, and make sure you're paying close attention here, is to use the UAV targeting circuitry. You want to make sure you're using the tier 6 special, not the UAV targeting circuitry Mark II 1. It's, again, the weirdest way they could have done this. Don't use the Mark II, use the basic one that came out a long time ago that is really old. You want to use this one because the chain count of 2 is on here, where there's no chain count on the other one, which would default to have just 1 on the ship. So again, make sure you use UAV targeting circuitry. And that's a pretty good one here, but let's look over a few other specials that we can use to further increase the penetrative damage. If you just search in UAV, there's nothing there except for the UAV upgrade, which has a chain count of 1. I'll come back to this one at the very end here. Instead, there's a lot of penetrative damage specials that you are going to want to put on this one. Now, there are not actually a lot of options compared to PvE, and your best one for your primary is actually the carbon fiber casing. This does penetrative damage and gives you a little bit of penetrative reload as a fun bonus right there. So that's pretty good. The second special slot is going to be under the same search term of penetrative damage, because you can actually stack some of these, and this one that you can stack in particular is the Assault Battery MKCOM. If you go to limited and search for penetrative damage, you basically have nothing because it's all limited to PvE stuff. Now, that's your basic specials that are going to be pretty good for you to use so far. If you go ahead and again search for penetrative damage one more time, the last round of specials that you might want to use is a few things like the scope or force. I'm not actually going to recommend either of those right here because I don't want to play around with ranges and what can outrange me, what can't. I already generally have a pretty high range, and the most important ability of the ship in my mind is the stun element actually. So you're going to want to place this in a few very specific places in your base, not just at the back in the island. You want to put it in front of a kill zone where a ship will charge into this one and then get stunned for a long period of time, and hopefully repeatedly, so maybe by a turn here. Now, I'm not going to mess around with ranges too much there. You could put on a penetrative damage special and just get straight up 10% more penetrative damage. There's nothing wrong with that one. You could actually go on and put on the UAV upgrade, which would allow your ships to start chaining. So instead of just hitting, if we see the chain count right here goes from 2 to 3, instead of just hitting, a few ships, now we're hitting one more, which is maybe a 25% increase in the damage that this thing is doing, which is assuming the attacker is attacking you with all grouped up ships and not running a train with these spaced out ships on you there. So because I generally expect attackers are going to be driving pretty well, I don't think that the chain upgrade or UAV upgrade is the way to go here, because if you're against a good attacker, they're probably just driving one ship at a time in here. Instead, I'm actually going to recommend something that boosts penetrative damage over time, when by damage over time I mean DPS, like the DPS calculation, and that is in terms of penetrative reload. This option is actually the counter missile extender, which you likely have because it's tier 4, and this gives you a penetrative range bonus, which is really necessary. That makes the 120 go even higher, and then the penetrative reload is a nice bonus as compared to putting on an upgrade or something, because if you did that, then you wouldn't have any range specials and you'd be in for a very sad day. The other range specials that you could consider, if we take a look at this and spell range correctly, is there is the advanced optical tracking, which you could add projectile speed. That doesn't matter for UAVs really. You could add accuracy. I don't really think people are running crazy high evade builds in today's game. Certainly my rangers don't have anything ridiculous on there, but if people start running really high evade, you could definitely add that on here. Taking a look in limited, we can see that there's nothing right there because these are all PvE only. So the penetrative range special that I'm going to put on as my last special slot, definitely not the least important, is counter missile extender. Because of the reload bonus, this is basically a DPS bonus hidden with a range guy on top of there. So those are the specials that I'm going to put on right now. The least important one that you could probably take off later is going to have to be the Assault Battery MKCOM if you did want to play around with chain count or anything else like this one. In terms of armors, the choice is actually pretty simple for me right now when I'm making this video, and that is to max out corrosive armors. Now, if you're watching this 3 months from now, there's likely a new tier 14 or whatever number we're on here to our Conqueror ship, which is going to do, let's say, concussive or ballistic damage, in which case you're going to want to put on armors against that particular ship on there. But for right now, corrosive is definitely the highest damage type, so I'm going to put on the protector plates of corrosive. You can actually see I'm out of these because I haven't really kept up with random protector plates all the time and don't have many to spare. I'll have to get some more in this event if I can hit some more level 80s. Now note you can't actually equip 4 of these to the ship, which means that you need to either put on a different one of the same tier 13 here, or what I actually prefer to do right now, because I don't know what ship is coming out, is to leave it blank. But if I was going to put on something right now to use in today's game, it would be the tier 12 protector plate, because as you can see by looking at those ones, these guys right here give you 10% corrosive defense, which is, surprise surprise, the exact same as the current ones. Now the difference is that you don't get 1.45 million armor, which is about a 5% improvement. So just in terms of armor plates, if I'm at, call it just 30 million, 10% of that is 3 million, half of that is 5 million. So every armor plate you get on gives you basically 5% against everything, but if people are only hitting you with rangers right now, I would rather get 10% of corrosive than 5% of everything. Obviously this will change, and as the next Conqueror ship comes out that does penetrative, for instance, you would want to put on penetrative protector plates on this guy. So there's the build for it. It's overall pretty simple. I'm going to get a few of mine going in my base and get some videos out there of base defenses, and then of me hitting a few people's bases as well. As always with PvP content, there are no secrets here. This is not some top secret alliance build I'm sharing with you. This is really just the best one out there, and it's not incredibly difficult. But if you do enjoy me making these videos for you here and want to see more of those, go ahead and share this with your alliance members, Facebook pages, etc. I don't always post these videos everywhere possible, so you sharing it really helps get the word out there. With that said, until next time, I want to give a huge shout out to the channel members whose names appear on the end screen now, and this is Derpy, signing out, helping you be a better pirate.